Hi there, and welcome to episode 2 of the Night Watch Pokemon TCG podcast. You're actually going to join us about 5 minutes into the conversation as there was some slight audio issues. All we've missed is that Demi is going to play Palkia for Warsaw Regionals, and we're just asking him if he is or isn't playing Quick Shooting in Teleon. Are you still on Quick Shooting?
It's definitely a consideration now. I didn't play it for Lil because I was playing 2 Melanie. I've had to get used to playing 1 Melanie because you have to play the game a little bit differently when you don't have that backup net of 2 Melanie.
Right.
Also, something I've discovered about Quick Shooting is it's good against good Kyurem players, right? Because good Kyurem players, as we talked about last week, they won't play into your 1990 Kyurem VMAXs.
Yeah.
They're not going to allow you to do that. Yeah, they're not going to allow you to do that. They're going to only put 1 Kyurem VMAX in play. So the other 90 has to be on a target like Oranguru or Greninja.
Right.
And you finish that off with Quick Shooting. So your prize map for that is 3 prizes on the Kyurem, 1 prize on the Oranguru, and the other 2 on a Luminion, Palk, just whatever, Crobat, anything else. The other 2 prizes shouldn't be a problem to get because they'll always have to have a large bench, or they'll have to put down another Kyurem V because you're threatening to knock out the first one and they won't have an attacker for next turn. So that's how Quick Shooting helps approach that matchup. The trade-off for only playing 1 Melanie is that if you weren't able to get enough energy on the board when you go for your Moonlight Shuriken, it could leave you in the position where you have to take a turn to attach an energy. However, that can be you have to do Roxanne Path that turn, so that's like a backup option, and just like hope they don't have a boss, which usually they won't because they have to get a combination of things under Path and Roxanne, and that deck is really vulnerable to that because its whole engine is on the ground. It's just the Pokemon you play. It doesn't. When you play the Crobat, that's it. You don't get to use that later. That's what its draw engine is. Especially if you path them and you can turn off that Crobat, Luminion, Greninja, and even the abilities of Kyurem and Palkia VSTAR. So, Quick Shooting does the trade-off for Quick Shooting versus second Melanie in that matchup is good because it does help you against the better Kyurem Palkia players.
Okay. Yeah, Quick Shooting is definitely. I always see in the group chat you going backwards and forwards on it. I think I'll be playing it personally. I'm not gonna gas you up though, people. I've not played much Palkia at all, but I played against it a lot. Yeah, no, it definitely seems good. Any other tech cards you're considering, or is it literally just the possible Quick Shooting?
That is the only change I would consider making. I still do not want to play Carbonable in my deck because I'm just. If I hit one of these fringe matchups like Goodra or Blissey, I'll just take the loss. Yeah. It's really not that deep. Like, their combined percentage of the field is, it's got to be less than 10%. So you'll play it once, maybe 0 times. And then if you're unlucky, very unlucky, you'll play against it more than once. But it is what it is. You just take the loss. Like, your deck can't beat everything. And if you try to make it beat everything, you're just going to have a really inconsistent deck.
Yes. Yeah. That's something. I think before I took that leap into like being a decent player, I'd almost say it's like a beginner's trap almost, where you think, oh wow, hang on, so this just got top 8, so I'm gonna have to dedicate 1 or 2 cards to that. But then wait, this made top 8 2 weeks ago, so I've got to have a card against that. And what ends up happening is against 60% of your games, like you said, you're not hitting those random top 8 decks, and then like you'll top deck it and think, okay, I really need to hit this turn, top deck, and it's a tech for a thing that you haven't played all day, and you're thinking, oh well. Especially I guess in Inteleon decks as well, right, where so much of your deck is dedicated to like VIPs, level balls, even incensers. Even you haven't really got that much tech room in Palk, have you? Really?
No, you don't. The list is very tight, and I think a lot of people think about text the wrong way. So I had a friend say to me, on my winning in for points at Lille, I face Goodra, so I want to play crab now. And the thing about that is that is the wrong way to look at evidence, right? That is anecdotal evidence, because that is just one game, right? So, if that was your winning for points, that means you lost at least 2 other games, right? And then think about the games you won as well. If you were playing a crab instead of another card, maybe you cut Path or you cut Quick Shoot. Well, not Quick Shoot because it's crab. You cut maybe one of your consistency cards. Like
Level ball, maybe.
A level ball, yeah. Think about all your other 8 games and how they went. That's kind of how I look at decking, right? Yeah. You really got to look at the whole picture of each game and match you play in a tournament, because a tech like Carbonable, it's mostly going to help you against fringe decks, and I think it was a decent metical for Lil. I don't mind it because
did you play it in Lil?
I didn't.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
But Owen Cameron, who made top 4,
he did. Shout out to him. So I didn't mind it for Lil just because it won the week prior. So it was a big hype deck, but I think going forward, Goodra definitely loses some popularity. Same with Blissey. Is that what you're thinking? Blissey?
Yeah, I think same with Blissey. And stuff like, the thing is, crab can be useful elsewhere, but it is quite fringe.
I think what would put me off playing crab in Palk, because like you said, you can use it in other matchups, right? You can use it against these non-Goodra decks or Blissey. Like, it's got that 1 energy attack to discard your card. You can always use that, right? In theory. And the attack was at 90 plus 60 for each damage. You can always use that. I think the problem with it though is that it's 3 energy, and I think that makes a world of difference. That means you always have to pretty much dedicate your star portal to it, right? And like we mentioned in Ep2, Greninja's very good. So if you win, and I imagine you use Greninja in a ton of games, right? I imagine
you do. Yes, in matchups like Giratina, Greninja's huge, right? So if you're using Greninja in that matchup,
you will never be able to use crab.
No, it's unlikely you will, especially if you're playing 1 Melanie as well. So So when I was speaking to Natalie before Lil,
shout out to Natalie.
She took the time to discuss my list with me, which was very nice of her. So shout out to Natalie.
Did she wreck you?
We didn't play any games.
Oh no. What I meant was, did she just destroy your list?
She recommended I played a quick shooting.
Oh, okay.
But she said the reason they played they played 2 Melanie is because they played a crab. Because
there you go. So you have to.
I do think crab does require 2 Melanie. Is another thing.
100%. No, that makes sense. So going into Warsaw, then you've done most of your testing. You're pretty much locked in on Palk now, right? What do you expect the meta's going to be like?
It was always going to be Palk for me because just experience. I want to start focusing on LAIC now, which is going to be a new format.
True, which we'll talk about later.
But in terms of meta, I think everything just remains the same with a very slight percentage increase or decrease in decks. Like Giratina is always going to be the most popular deck. Kyurem's going to be a very popular deck. Palkintel is going to be a very popular deck.
Kyurem as well. Kyurem always has high.
Kyurem's always popular. People, it's a really solid deck and people enjoy it, and it's quite easy to play. So that deck's always going to be popular
with good result in a sense that easy to play and it results in big one shots, right? You can't. It's hard to argue sometimes if 330.
Exactly. Some people are arguing that Mew may see a drop in percentage. I mean, it could do a little bit. I think people will start playing more Drapion in their list now. So Nico Alabas's list from top 4 did not play Drapion. And I think
was he on Palk? Sorry,
Giratina.
Oh, Giratina.
I think Palk is a deck that can get away with not playing.
I don't think Palk needs it at all. No,
but Giratina,
it needs to. I think
it does. It makes me a lot harder if you don't play the Drapion. But if you do play Drapion, it makes me very easy, a lot easier. Not an auto win because Mew can still do things like Roxanne Path, but it makes it good. And I do think people will be playing a lot more Drapion, which might scare people away from playing Mew. So I think Mew could see a slight decrease in percentage. Art Goodra really did not live up to the hype of Salt Lake City. I think that deck goes, people will give up on that deck because it didn't carry them to it didn't do what they expected. I think people
thought it was going to be a new top tier contender for the format, right?
Yeah,
and it's just gone.
People thought, people thought they could take Arceus Gudra into Lil and just get so many free matchups. Like, Palkia, this one's free. Lost Box, this one's free. Obviously, that didn't happen because I think the meta's just too wide open. And then I do think Gudra just does. It can lose to the decks that it's trying to counter.
Yeah, no.
I've beaten it quite a lot on ladder with Palkia, especially now with the quick shooting. Quick shooting helps a lot in that matchup. And then
I think one big problem. Sorry to quick. I think one big problem with Arceus Gudra is, like you said, it's targeting these matchups, right? You know, it's targeting them. But the inherent fact that you don't play an engine means you will lose some of those matchups, right? It will just happen. You'll be like, oh, this is a fine matchup if I can just get a turn 2 rolling iron, right? Yeah. And then you look at your hand and you're like, wait a minute. I can't get this turn 2 rolling iron. All of a sudden, your opponent's just like, see you later. Exactly. And that's what would scare me about playing.
And it's like, it has its good matchups, but it doesn't have its auto wins like a deck like deck like Decidueye would do, which so yeah, that's another thing. Regis, I've seen people saying Regis is going to be everywhere. I mean, a deck like Regis can never be everywhere. It's just never going to be that popular. 10% at the most.
Really?
Yeah,
I have to. So. Cheap deck, right? Cheap deck number 1. Good meta results so far. You know, Josh out of the Zapdos TCG. It had 4? Is it Salt Lake or Peoria?
Yeah, Salt Lake.
With people like Azul, Drew Kent, so these are big, high-profile players. And now it's a good meta spot, right? In theory, if Mew wins, Mew can struggle, especially for DTE Mew, I imagine. Struggles a lot with Regis. So you don't think it's going to be more than 10%?
No, I just...
Really?
I think... Well, the thing you got to think about is even a deck like Giratina only represents 15% of the field.
Okay,
and that is the most popular.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be more. I need to double check that. But like... Decks really are... Because... Even when you have a deck that is extremely good, like Mew in Brilliant Stars format, Mew only saw at most 25% of the field.
Fair enough.
And that's when it was
that one is objectively
undisputed best deck in format. But especially in the format now where there are so many different decks, right? The metagame is as diverse as it has been in a while.
Yeah.
You're just never going to see any deck be that popular relative to other decks, right? So you have your really popular decks like Tina, Kyurem, and they're only going to be sitting at 15 to at most 20% of the field.
Yeah.
So a deck like Regis, which is it's always a fringe niche deck that a lot of people dislike because of its inconsistency.
Yeah.
Just the fact that people would prefer to play a different deck, right? You know, you might not hate Regis, but you might just like Kyurem, for example. So I don't expect Regis to see more than 10% of the field. And we could check back on the meta after Warsaw to see if I was correct or not.
Because I'm gonna stick up for Regis over here a little bit. Because while you were talking, I got up Justin Basil. Shout out to Justin Basil. Their top 10 archetypes for this would have been last week, I think. So I'm gonna read you these off. So you got Giratina number 1. This is most played online events, I think. Palkia number 2.
What percentages are these?
I'm not, but the point I'm making isn't necessarily based on percentage, but I'll tell them anyway. So Giratina 22, Palkia 16.1, Kyurem 14.9, Mew 14, Blissey 4.9, then it's Regis 4.6, Goodra 4.6, and Lost Box 4.2. I would argue there that Regis has a good matchup against Mew number 4. I imagine Kyurem must be fairly decent as well, right? Because they're all 3 prize attackers. I mean, I know you wouldn't be swinging with Regigigas in that matchup, but you just swing with Regigigas.
It's a good matchup for Regis Kyurem.
I know Palkia is probably, I'd say it's probably a bit even. Maybe Palkia slightly favoured just because Regis is inherently a bit inconsistent. Is that fair?
It's hard to say. I think it's close to even now.
Close to even?
Yeah, if Palkia plays a big charm, which most of them do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then Giratina, I'm not 100% versed on that matchup, but I imagine that's probably a bit even anyway. So,
I think Tina's favoured in that matchup.
Tina's favoured.
It depends on the Reggie list, but Tina's option in that matchup is to just attack with Shred because Tina has no weakness. So Reggie's always has to go for a 2-shot on that Tina. It's not a foolproof strategy because Reggie's can counter that with Reggie Lecky's attack to, go for Comphase on the bench or go for a Tina on the bench and try and set that one up.
Okay.
But overall, that is the game plan for Tina. Also, some Regis play the Regigigas from
the 240
the 240 one,
yeah,
which absolutely decimates that strategy from Tina because it just one-shots. It forces them to evolve into their Tina VSTARs and start going for stuff like Lost Impacts or Star Requiems.
Which for one prize, Lost Impact for one prize seems gross.
Yeah, so I think that is not too popular in Regi list though.
No.
So I think overall, maybe 60-40 for Tina.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here was the crux of why I was doing that. So we've got the top 4 decks: Mew, Kyurem, Palkia, Giratina, right? And I guess Blissey actually is number 5. I imagine Blissey is quite a good matchup for Regis, I imagine, right?
If they played Dunsparce, no, it's really easy for Blissey.
Okay, fair enough. So my point is basically Mew VMAX decent, Kyurem decent, Palkia even-ish, and then Giratina slightly unfavored. You can play the 240. That's some good matchups against the top decks of the format at the minute. Come on, Demi.
Regis does have a good matchup spread, but it's inherently a very inconsistent deck.
That is true.
And this is just theory, right? So people will always say, "Oh, my deck beats this deck in theory," but in practice, if your Regi doesn't set up, so take Tord versus Kid Stark at Peoria Regionals, right? I believe this was for winning in. Kid is playing Regis. Tord is playing Lost Box. Tord hasn't got any text for that. However, Tord 2-0s him just because Kid gets unlucky in that matchup and just isn't able to set up. He gets the wrong attackers stuck in the active. So that's the issue with Regi is like, okay, if everything goes well for you, yes, you do beat all these matchups. You always beat Palkia if you set up well and find what you need. Like Palkia's game plan against Regis is a bit of hope and praying that they missed up.
I guess with Mew it would be as well, right?
Yeah.
Just hope they don't set up.
Yeah, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Not like hope they brick, just hope they don't find.
Hope it's not optimal.
Yeah, hope they don't get like hope they don't find their choice belt immediately. Yeah. Hope they don't get a turn 1 attack on you if they're going second. Stuff like that. So that's the thing. Regis,
which will happen with Regis as well.
Yeah,
it will happen.
Yeah,
it will happen.
But the thing, Regis just it won't always go to plan, and that's the issue with the deck. I mean, it is a good deck. It has good matchups, but at the end of the day, it's an inconsistent deck. Probably the most inconsistent deck in format.
Yeah, I'd argue that. I mean, I'm sure I have some people hate me for this, but I hate the idea of Goodra having no engine. Terrifies me. But yeah, it's a toss. I just don't like having no engine.
Okay,
I'm a baby. I don't like it.
That's one thing. I think having no engine just limits your options, but it doesn't affect Godra's consistency.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Because that deck, all it needs to set, it needs so little.
Just needs a stage 1, 2 stage 1s,
exactly.
and you got a Starburst. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I'm just terrified. I guess when you used to play in Genesect for so long. What do you mean I get to see 1 card a turn? Like, what do you mean? Okay, so I guess we've sort of touched on a little bit then. We're going to move into our next segment now. A little bit of hot or not, baby. We're not going to talk about this for too long, but essentially I've got a list of decks here. We're just going to go through them for Warsaw and say whether Demi is hot or not on them. So let's have a start. So we've talked about Regis. That's actually my first one as well. Mew VMAX, hot or not?
Not at the moment.
Ooh, why is that then?
I think people will knee-jerk and play Drapion, possibly 2 Drapions in their deck. Yeah. Like, I think every Lost Box includes Drapion now.
Yeah, no, for sure. No,
Tina's will all put Drapion back in their deck. So I think Mew is definitely not in a good spot. However, Mew will always just do Mew things and out consistency people.
Yeah.
Because it is the most consistent deck in format.
Yep.
And I think you could still day 2 of Mew. You could still go 6-3 of Mew. It's not like you're gonna lose every round because everyone's playing 2 Drapion in their deck. And sometimes you could even beat Drapion, right?
Yeah, you can.
If you play it smartly and then some things go your way with a Roxanne path, things like that. But currently, overall, Mew not.
Alright, riddle me this then. When when it comes to Mew and one of the last standers of the Fusion Alliance. You'll all be coming back to the Fusion Alliance come next set, won't you? Well, I've been standing strong with the Fusion Boy Alliance. Do you think, if you was to play Mew, would you recommend Fusion over 4DT? Because Fusion has a lot better time with that Drapons. All you do, you don't evolve your VMAXs, you sit there with 2 Meloetta and say, go on then. And the second that Drapon comes out, you lost City, that bad boy. So, are you on 4DT now or Fusion?
I'm not sure really, because
you sit on the fence.
4 Fusion is just inherently worse against Palkia. I'll be honest.
Is it?
Yes.
Why is that then?
So, because Palkia against 4DTE.
Right.
4DT going first is very scary for Palkia.
Okay.
And one of the biggest threats in that matchup is Avery. So you can't fill your bench turn 1 and hope to evolve into 3 Palkia VSTARs, which is a really good strategy against Mew in the first place.
Yeah, it is.
Because the threat of Avery double cross switcher loses you the game. But it's just a lot better at doing what it's supposed to do in that matchup, which is go turn 2 boss, turn 3 boss or KO active, turn 4 boss KO active, and take 6 prizes in 4 turns. However, Fusion Mew, I feel really confident in that matchup going either first or second, just because even going second, like, there is the Roxanne path turn, and you know their deck is just so much more bricky. It doesn't have all the explosive tools, you know, like the Silene to get back Fusion tablets plus Palpad, just to keep recycling these Fusion tablets. But it's hard to say. Obviously, that deck is a lot more vulnerable to the Drapion, which people will be playing.
Yeah.
Maybe it is in a slightly better position than DT Mew.
Okay, yeah.
There's a few UK players who played it for Lil.
Fusion Mew. Sorry.
Yeah, Fusion Mew. Shout out Ryan Morehouse, who went 6-3 with the deck.
Yeah,
very good player. So there is still a bit of love for that deck. I'm just not sure on it myself in this format. Next format is a different story though.
Yeah, no, for sure. To be completely transparent, I haven't played a lot of 4DT Mew because I've been on Team Mellow, baby. But yeah, I guess it depends then. Are you more scared of Palk or are you more scared of Drapion? I think right now I'm sticking with my guns. I think it's going to be... I've seen people play Drapion in Palk. Yes. So I'm just like, if Drapion going to be that everywhere, I just want to at least have a Meloetta and make him actually play the game a little bit. Like, I don't want to just be like, Drape. Sure. Next turn, ordinary rod, quick ball.
But the thing is, Drapion is still okay against Fusion Mew.
No, it is. Yeah. But I just think Fusion has a little bit more defense. Anyway, I don't want to make every episode all about Mew. I apologise, guys. Let's keep it moving. Kyurem VMAX, hot or not?
I'm hot on Kyurem.
Okay.
I think Kyurem is just such a solid deck that, you know, it will always be decent. I really like Benji Fam's list with the 2 collapsed stadiums, because that does give you some defense against your worst matchup being Palkia. Probably Regis is the worst matchup, but you get my point. It's a bad matchup.
It's a defense. It's a defense.
So that will help you.
Mm-hmm.
Kyurem's just like, it's just got a good all-round matchup spread. It's good against it's like pretty good against Tina as well with the 2 wash energy.
Yeah,
it's forced Tina to try and tech for that with a Temple of Sinnoh, but it's a nice, like, low to the ground consistent deck that has a very simple game plan, but it executes it well. So I'm hot on Kyurem right now.
No, I agree. Yeah, simple game plan in the sense is just get water energy on your Kyurem and smack, but you get good results because you smack stuff, you Oko stuff. 330 HP is big. Monstrous. Like I think at League. I think it was shout out to Connor Bird. It was at League the other day, and I was watching him play someone. I was like, "Yo, Kyurem has 330," and I think I'm playing Fusion Mew. Well, how the 330? You can hit that once, but it's like a mad turn. Like, Jesus. And yeah, you know, what I like about the deck, it runs a lot of basics, which I think inherently makes you at least get into the game more. You know, Crobats, Luminion.
You definitely have more early game consistency.
Yes,
with that. It's just your mid game and late game can be a bit dangerous.
Yeah, no, for sure.
If you get Marnied or Roxanne.
Yeah. So I guess one of those decks where you think you want to tempo them out fast, which is kind of what Mew kind of does as well. Right? Just tempo them out fast and just say, right, you know, here's my board. I've took 3 prizes now. You haven't took any. Let's race. So yeah, okay. Hot on Kyurem. I think I haven't played Kyurem at all, so I'm not gonna give an opinion on that one. Tina.
I'm always hot on Tina. Tina's just an incredibly good deck, diverse deck. Doesn't take any auto losses at all. you know, it doesn't take really any necessarily bad matchups. You have a couple slightly unfavored, but nothing is unwinnable, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You don't sit across from anything and be like,
That's that then.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, you don't have to worry about matchup roulette with Tina, sorry.
Yeah.
And I just think it also rewards good players as well, because the deck has a lot of decisions to be made. But if those decisions are made correctly, it's probably the best deck in the room. Yeah.
I mirror all that 100%. One thing I like about Tina is that I think it was good deck building as well. Because outside of really unlucky flower selections, right, you can, because you're not really having to discard cards throughout the game, you can like play the one-off Roxanne maybe. I think that's actually a two-off, that's a bad example. Unless you want to play an Avery, for example. I don't know why. There's a good chance you'll see it, you can hold on to it, which is what I quite like. I haven't really played many Lost Zone decks.
Yeah.
But I've been playing some like against myself. I'm like, wait a minute, you can actually reliably find your tech and just hold on to it.
Yeah. I do think, one-off cards like Roxanne that can only be played on a specific turn, they actually do make some sense in decks like Tina. Because,
that's what.
Because the whole game you're just building up your hand with Horses and Comphase, and you also have the Luminion to fall back on. I do much prefer a card like Roxanne in that deck to in Kyurem, which doesn't have the only search you have for the Roxanne is the Luminion, and like you might have used that early game, stuff like that. You might not have a bench space for it, as that deck often doesn't do.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know, there's that. So I do like the cheeky one of Roxanne and Tina.
And one thing I really like about Tina is that it's so versatile as well, right? Like you've got in some matchups, you can just go Cram Sableye, Rod Sableye. You know what I mean? And just threaten, especially if you play Thornton as well, right? You just have like a confidence, be like, right, Lol, Thornton, what's it called? Mirage Gate, bang, Requiem, right? Or against other decks, you can just go, right, I'm doing 280. Which there's not a lot of decks in format. Let's say Kyurem, for example. Kyurem can't go one prize. It just can't do it. It's going to have to slam that 3 prize. I mean, I guess you can use Palkia a little bit, but and I think it's a really versatile deck. It's a fairly consistent deck. You can kind of take it out as well. You've got some space, but you've got Drapion. You can play. You can get funky with your stadiums. You can go Temple, Sinnoh, Path, Collapse. You could do any of those. But yeah, I'm hot on Tina. Always will be hot on Tina. And Star Requiem, by the way. Whoo-wee! That is a crazy attack. Goddamn. Okay, what have we got here? Lost Box, the next Lost deck.
Okay, I'm pretty hot on Lost Box.
Yeah?
In the right hands.
Yeah.
Personally, it's not a deck I like to play.
No.
But that does not mean it's a bad deck. It's just something I haven't committed time to, but I have a lot of friends who do play Lost Box, and they're very good players.
Conte's on it, isn't it?
Alberto Conte.
Shout out Conte!
Luke Burke.
Luke Burke. Shout out Luke Burke.
Yeah. I think the deck is very good when you play it correctly. It does have its issues with random Healy matchups like Goodra, but those matchups are actually winnable, right?
Yeah.
Just because the Zard is pretty good, right?
Good.
So I'm hot on Lost Box if you dedicate a lot of time to it and just learn the deck, because it is probably the hardest deck to play.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely the hardest deck to play for sure. But I'm hot on it. One prize deck to swing. Shout out! I was at League the other day. Friday night League tournament. Like put a 5 in, win some packs, whatever. And I was watching some guy I've never seen before, but he was playing Lost Box. He was playing against Dialga. Shout out to Joe if you are listening. Lost Box player was on 2 prizes, right? He has a boss in hand, has a Clara. The Zard just got chaos. I think, he just Clara's gets the Zard back and the energy and just wins the game. But he like bossed something up and did the Sableye, ended up losing. I just go to him. I was like, why didn't you Clara? And he was like, so just a little funny story that I thought, Zard is pretty strong. So shout out to that. Going to do quick sponsors as well though. Shout out to Dragon Shield. They sponsor the podcast, the best TCG accessories in my opinion. Can't beat them. And one thing I wanted to draw some attention to is this life ledger here, because one thing I started doing this season, and I think it's helped this season. I got a lot better, or season just gone, was prize tracking. I would always prize track, and I'd write those prices down every time to make sure I don't start making plays for cards that aren't there. This life ledger is perfect for that. It's really small, fits in your bag, loads of pages. Perfect. Shout outs to Pokédex as well. Nowhere else, I imagine, in the world, you can say, right, I want to order this exact 60, please. And if you live in the UK, you can get it next working day. He sends it out same day, first class, any card you want, for the most part. You can just get them, to shout outs to them. And shout outs to JGC Collectibles. Get your singles from there and your sealed product as well. So many thanks to all them for sponsoring the podcast. The next deck I want to talk about them is one that you put on the map a little bit, actually. Talk about Blissey. Hot or not on Blissey?
I'm not ever hot on Blissey.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Okay.
Wasn't expecting that.
Okay, so the reason I played Blissey in that Limitless Showdown, all these weeks ago, when it was an unknown deck, was because the meta at the time was hugely dominated by two decks, being Kyurem and Lost Zone Box, right? Which Blissey had a really good matchup against, especially the Kyurem, because you could just go 3 Miltanks, 4 Paths, 4 Cape of Toughness, and then
good luck.
They had to get really lucky to beat you. Lost Box as well was a good matchup just because you healed, and people had never seen Blissey in this format. They didn't know what to do at all, right? Yeah. And also Giratina was not that popular then, but now Giratina is the best deck not most popular deck in format, and that has an extremely good Blissey matchup. And I played against 3 Giratinas in Lille, right? It's just a really popular deck you'll see, and you just can't beat it as Blissey at all, right? Which really makes me not hot on Blissey, right?
Yeah. I guess historically, the decks that lose to the best deck in format, I'm thinking like a good example of this was Mega Mewtwo, right? Mega Mewtwo lost to Night March because of weakness. But you can still play Mega Mewtwo because Mega Mewtwo would slay almost every other deck in format. Seismitoad, what other decks were around back then? I don't know. Some Giratina stuff maybe. Mega Mewtwo guard would like slay everything else, but it lose to Night March. Whereas I think Blissey, like you said, it loses to Giratina. I am not 100% convinced it's as good against all these other decks. No. Not good enough, I should say, to where you'd be like, right, let's roll the gambit and you know what I mean? See how many times you hit Giratina, right? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Like, you definitely do have some really good matchups as Blissey. Like, things like Palkia are good. Things like Kyurem are good. Mew is pretty good too. But I've seen the deck. I've lost to the deck with against Lost Box if the Lost Box player is good at the game. And they and also, the deck has to draw. You can always break with the deck. You can always not draw your hyper pots at the right time. Stuff like that. It's not a perfect deck into every other matchup. And then you just have the big gatekeeper of Giratina, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. That just makes me not hot on the deck at all.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I would not play Blissey.
Fair enough. Good little cheap deck though, but shout outs to Jamie for getting second, a little flying out flag, well done. Would have the Blissey. Okay, I had Arc ? Because how are Arc decks going around these days? You don't really see them. I guess you got Goodra was the last good one. There was Arctina was in top 8 actually. Arctina. So I've just put Arc ? Here. What's our thoughts on Arctina? You know I've played it a lot. I do quite like it.
I'm hot on Arctina.
Okay.
I like that deck. I tested it for about a day and it just felt really consistent, really smooth. It did exactly what you want.
Yep.
The only issue I see with it is you don't have much control over the game,
No.
But coming with that, there is very little mistakes you'll make with that deck. It's very straightforward, simple. And I just think you could do well with it if you played it because it's just solid. Yeah.
No, I remember when Lost Origin first came out, you can test this. I was straight on Arctina and I was like, right, I'm going to play this. I actually had a video plan, never got around to doing it, but it was going to be, I played 100 games with X deck in Arctina, the first one. I think I did end up playing the 100 games on TCG Ladder, and I think I won quite a good amount, 70 something maybe. This is obviously TCG Ladder. But one thing I like about Arctina is it's just reliable. Just like, right, it's a bit reminds me of Mega Man Electric back in the day, if you know like that. Just like, right, I've got this little geezer here, he's going to do 280. Right? Or 310, 340 if you go Choice Belt Halucha, which I don't think was in the Lil deck, no, but I do like them. So it's like, right, well, and then if you try and boss around that, I'm just going to 2-hit you again. You got Starbirth, you got a ton of supporter cards, you got Path, Marnie Path. Ooh, just a very good fundamental deck. And I think we touched on this a little bit when you came around. We watched some regional. I think we played a little bit. Is that it's hard to make mistakes with Arctina. It's very straightforward of what you need to do. It's very obvious, is what I should say. Which means you're less likely to make mistakes. And when you're playing, 9 rounds upwards, if you do well with Pokemon, the less mistakes you make, the more chances are you have to do well. So I think we are both hot on that one, aren't we? Very good little bit of Arctina. Zoroark, interesting one.
I'm not hot on Zoroark.
Why not?
Well, we talked about this last week. I just don't think it's that good of a deck.
Yeah.
It requires so much high roll, and then if you're expecting to high roll a tournament, why don't you just play Mew or Palkia, right?
Yeah, that's what I always say. It's hard. It's strange because it did really well in
Peoria, yes.
Peoria as well, but it did well in what was those ones in Asia, Indonesia, and there was another one. Oh, I'm so sorry. It might be Malaysia actually. It did really well there, but I do just always sit down and think. I even packed the gold Zoroark at League, and I was like, do I keep this? I'm looking at the card. I'm thinking, I just don't see why you'd ever play this over 4DT Mew. I just can't think of a reason. So
or just Palkia, right? Because
or Palkia as well. Yeah.
Palkia also needs to high roll, but to such a less extent than Zoroark needs to high roll, right? Yeah,
I just think people maybe just like Zoroark. I'm not saying it's a bad deck by any means. It's a very good deck. You will win games, and I guess you've got a lot of burst potential, right? But yeah, I'm not hot on it, unfortunately. No. Goodra, we touched this a little bit already.
No, I'm not hot on Goodra. I just think it didn't perform well at Lille just because it's not that strong of a deck. It's just a matchup farming deck, I think.
Okay. I'm gonna count devil's advocate here. We've said that if people want to counter Mew and stuff, they're gonna go to like Reggie's and Lost Box. Doesn't that mean then counter and a counter, Goodra becomes good?
Not necessarily, because Goodra can lose to things like Lost Box and Reggie's.
Yeah,
it doesn't auto win them. That's just what happens. But I just think Goodra is a matchup farming deck. You just play matchup roulette. If you hit your right matchups, you do well. But if you don't, you don't. And that's all it is, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not hot on Goodra. I just wanted to make a little bit more content. That's actually all the decks I've got written down. I haven't missed any off.
We didn't talk about Palkia.
Oh, okay. That was written down, but because we had a masterclass to Palkia earlier. Feel free if there's anything you missed off earlier.
I'm always going to be very, white hot on Palkia.
White hot. Jeez.
It's just a great deck, isn't it? It's my favorite deck, and I'd say it's Bidef. It could be argued to Giratina's best deck in format, but it's close.
It's always going to be second, right? It's either going to be first or second. I don't think anyone could argue Mew or whatever, or Kyurem going to be above Palk or
its power level is just so high. Yeah. It's definitely the best Palk deck to play. It's better than Palk Kyurem.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
The only issue with Palkia is its turn 1 hands. Right? To play the game, you need a decent to good turn 1 hand. There's a lot of going first, you won't get a Palk down. It happens maybe around 25% of the time, but that's why best of threes exist. That's why 27 games of the tournament exists. So over these 27 games, you will set up most of your games, and when Palk sets up, it wins.
Yeah, no, that is true. So I was just checking some lists. Yeah, it's. Oh, even you mentioned getting down Palk. We played some games, didn't we, after recording the podcast last time? I was playing Mew, and I was like, thank God I'm not playing this format, because I'm rubbish apparently, because I was just losing all the time. It's not even the end of the world sometimes, is it, to be honest with you, not getting down the Palk?
No, not the end of the world. If you go first and don't get Palk down turn 1, it basically means you just flip the side and you're now going second, but your turn 1 will be weaker. Well, your turn 2 will be weaker because you can't VIP pass. But games can be won by not getting Palk down turn 1. It's not the end of the world. It can happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. One interesting thing I thought of. I remember back when I was casting Bilbao, there was a big hefty split down the middle of the Palk where you had the 4 VIP pass and you had the rare candy. And I was just looking. One list in Lille was the rare candy in top 8. One was the 4 VIP. I know you've always been for VIP. What's the reasoning behind one rare candy? And do you think there's any reason to go to that? I know you're probably going to say no because you're definitely VIP. Why do people play the candy first? I think
the only reason people don't want to play for VIP pass is just some prejudice against it. They just have some fallacy that I never start VIP pass. You know, I'm so unlucky. And then they're just gonna they replace these VIP passes with more quick balls, maybe capture energies. Maybe a rare
capture energy comes in.
I just think it's worse overall, and I think there is data to back my statement up. So all the best performing Palk lists, ever since VIP pass got popularized, have been with 4 VIP pass. So Bradner coming second at NEIC, 4 VIP pass. If you look at Worlds, James Cox, 4 VIP pass. Calvin Connor, 4 VIP pass. What came after? So yeah, even Bilbao, Julius making top 8, 4 VIP pass.
The most successful Palk Intel at the Malaysia regional, 4 VIP pass at third.
That could be considered as anecdotal evidence. There isn't really much else to go off. Take that what you will, but
here's one for you. I was looking at Jake Gearhart's list, 10th place. And you know what he's like? He will crunch all the numbers and do all the data.
Yeah.
And he was on 4-bit pass. So that's how you know mathematically. If Jake Gearhart's doing it, you know it.
Yeah. So I'll now go into some reasoning for that. So Palkia, all it wants to do is set up. When it sets up, it wins. And playing 4 VIP pass helps you, you know. Just getting a turn 1 Palk down is often not enough, right? You want Palk, 2 Sub or Greninja.
Yeah.
And, you know, playing 4 VIP pass just allows you to get as many Pokemon on your bench turn 1 to be able to play the game as optimally as possible. Playing 1 VIP pass, you're just banking on being able to Irida turn 1. And this really doesn't, make much sense to me, is because so you're saying you don't like to play 4 VIP pass because you don't think you'll hit it turn 1, but then you're playing only 1 and you're expecting to hit one of your 4 Iridas on turn 1, so you can use the VIP pass. So you know you're playing maybe 1 more out to it if you're playing 4 Irida, 1 VIP pass. So that logic doesn't make much sense to me, and I just think Rare Candy is just not that useful of a card in Palk and Tell. I think people overrate Aqua Bullet too much. They're trying, I'll do turn 2 Aqua Bullet. It's like, why don't you just do turn 2 Subspace Swell? Shuriken. That is one thing I see is people overrating the importance of Aqua Bullet. Aqua Bullet should only be used on niche turns, and it's always used for tricky plays or stuff like that.
Yeah, niche plays.
Yeah.
And I guess it's interesting you say, you're playing Irida to find your one-off VIP pass, but then don't you want to, if you can, have your Irida search
for bucket?
Yes, exactly. I was about to say bucket.
That is a really great point.
You know what I mean? Why are you tying up your supporter just to find a VIP pass when you can get a VIP pass and support and do other stuff?
The optimal turn 1 going second for Palk is when you start either VIP or bucket.
Yeah.
And then you can Irida for the other one. You can Irida for Greninja bucket or Greninja VIP pass and have a really good turn 1 setup. So that's another reason, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think I'd always be on 4 VIP. I think you just have to, you said, you get set up, you win with Palk. You don't want to be, banging about you got the rare candy this time. I can Aqua Bullet, and if they can't respond, then maybe I could. Get your Pokemon down. It's not hard.
I think the name of the game is tempo.
Yes, tempo. Yeah.
And that playing forward just helps you achieve that.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, interesting. I think that's actually all the stuff I had there. So
I'll just add an anecdote.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Fabian, who made top 8 with the 1 VIP pass Palkia.
Yes.
The reason for him playing 1 VIP pass is because his group, Limitless, did not have enough VIP passes for all of them. Because
I never knew that. Wait, what?
Yeah.
How did you find that out?
I saw this on Tor's stream. So obviously Tor was playing Lost Box, 4 VIP pass. Nico was playing Giratina, 4 VIP pass. Robin was playing Palkia with 4 VIP pass. And Fabian switched to Palkia last minute. And they didn't have enough VIP passes, so he just resorted to playing the one of.
That sounds like it could be in part 2 of TCG Butterfly Flex. That does. They didn't have enough VIP, so just Wow, I didn't know that. That's
And
interesting.
I think Fabian is just such a great player. That
yeah, he can get away with it.
He would have got that result either way.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's the thing.
Interesting though. That's funny. Yeah, that deserves a like right there. That's some in-depth knowledge. Right. So I think that wraps up all the stuff. Anything you want to add before we get into like what people want to see on Twitter?
No, I think that's it for the decks. I don't think there's any other. Yeah.
Oh, there is a deck we forgot to mention actually. So this week I went to League, and I like playing new fun stuff at League. I never play the same deck twice at League, and I was like, you know what? Hang on, let me bring it to my camera over here for a sec. So I was like, you know what? I like playing, like last week I played Arceus Giratina. This is the sort of level of deck we're playing. I'll come to League. I was like, Dialga's pretty fun. Let's try that Lost Zone Dialga. You know, Mirage Gate is essentially another Metal Sorcerer. Play a few water energies. You can do a little bit of a Greninja. You got Cramorant to soften stuff up. Actually, the deck's theory is quite decent. So I played it. Of course I did. Shout out to Joe. There was we were the only trios in the room, both playing Dialga. He was playing Magnezone. I was playing Lost. Obviously, I did get the dub in my match, but Dialga, then I'm gonna put to you now. Come on, we're taking 2 turns at a time.
Deck's bad.
No.
The deck's always been so bad. It just.
Oh dear.
All right, if you want to play Dialga, you know you need a horseshoe shoved up somewhere.
Whoa! Jesus Christ!
That's all I'm saying. That deck requires so much luck.
He means in the cupboard. He means in the cupboard.
In the cupboard.
In the
right?
cupboard.
That deck just requires so much luck and everything to go so perfectly for you, right? I mean, that's all I'm gonna say. Like, yeah, in theory, you can do these really, really fancy turns with like Moonlight, like what's the Jextat called? Chronostar into Moonlight Shuriken. Like, you know, Chronostar, the Manaphy, then Moonlight Shuriken.
Yeah, you do your own 90-90.
Okay, yeah. If everything's going absolutely perfect for you, sure. But most of the time, things won't happen, and then you just won't win when that doesn't happen, right?
No, true. No, I guess no. It is a combo deck. 5 energy. If
Yeah.
But what I would say, I think this is the strongest This is the strongest Dialga deck because one thing I didn't like about Dialga before I played it a lot is that you were so all in on your Dialga, right? You know, you had no other attacker. At least now you can be like, there's a Cram. And actually, from getting my head caved in from you, doing 90-90, I played against a Shadow Ward, and I was like, wait a minute. When you evolve those VMAXs, I can go a little bit of a pa-pa-pa-pang, and then I can just do a little Timeless, or whatever it's called, and then finish him off with a Metal Blast. I hit my own 90-90. And that actually came up when we was in the final, where it's my Dialga versus Joe's Dialga. He was playing Magnezone, and I was playing Lost. I was like, being able to just go like, bing, the Magnemites. Greninja is a crazy card.
It's a good card,
It's the first time I've got to play with it while attacking. I'm thinking, wait a minute. This is crack if I do this here.
Insane
bing, bing.
attack, yeah. It's a really good attack. Like,
it is.
So essential. But, you know, even the Dialga master, Xander Perot, who was a diehard Dialga player in Astral Radiance, has not touched that deck since it started, so.
Yeah,
That's all I'm going to say.
I talk up a big game, but it's definitely just a league deck or maybe a challenge deck if challenges are around. I would never dream of taking it even higher than that. Oh dear. Right, let's get on to some Twitter stuff then. Let's have a look. So Trainer Hill has said, why are y'all the coolest? I don't know. We're just born this way, innit? You know what I mean? No, let's actually get to the proper question. So here's a fun one from Logan. Let's get a fun one. Shout out to Logan. 9th place with Liverpool, right? Yeah, well, shout out to him. What is your most interesting experience due to Pokemon? Do you want me to go first? I think I have my answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go first.
I'll have a little think.
I think it's going to like a cop out, and some people say, "Oh, he's bragging." I'm not, but like being able to commentate a regional for me is just so insane. You know, it didn't really hit home. So I did one Bilbao last season, which was a bit of a, let's just say, not the best. There's only 2 of us there, me and David. So a lot of the stuff, a bit rushed. I didn't think I had to experience it and enjoy it as much. But the last Bilbao one, even though it was remote, it didn't really hit home what this casting business actually is until, it might have been you actually. You sent me the picture of the big screen and I saw myself there and I was like, wait, that's me on the big screen. And for me, I think that's crazy. You know, looking at the stream numbers, like streaming myself to like, I don't know, 500 people, and they're listening to me talk about the game, talking about Pokemon, when I only really started uploading videos 2 years ago properly, and now I'm commentating the region. For me, I think that's just mind blowing. So I think that's my one. Have you got your one?
Yeah, I've got a couple actually
Okay.
that I can't really decide between. So the first one is when I top 8 at Bremen regionals, because that has been my best achievement to date, and I kind of went from before COVID. I felt like I was a very average player. You know, I'd never day 2'd. I was always, you know, I was just like a League Cup player basically. I did well at League Cups. Yeah. Hardly did well at regionals, but you know, going after COVID when I day 2'd my first day 2 at Liverpool. You know, got points at Bilbao, Lille, and then it came to Bremen, which I finished day 1 on 7-1-1.
Woo! Jeez.
And then I finished on 10-2-2, and this was just with a deck that I just felt so in tune with, which was Arceus Giratina. I think that's.
Oh yeah.
I just, you know, I feel like I played that deck very well, and just making top 8 was just such an interesting and unique experience, right? Because I'm sure people like Tord, it's just another day in the office for them, right? Yeah, but for me, like, you know, I feel like it did put my name on the map as someone who is a serious threat at regionals that you could play against. And
I guarantee, sorry to cut off a little bit here, but if you was to go on, like, if you had a graph of your Twitter followers, I guarantee where you top 8 anyone on Pokestats, I bet your followers went blink, turning upwards a little bit, right?
It might have been, but you know, when I made top 8 and then having the little promotional video,
that looked good. That looked good.
I was really nervous for it, and I looked a bit awkward, but it was just such a cool experience. You know, I felt like I was a celebrity for that day. And then it almost didn't feel real, right? It felt surreal, and I think I pinched myself at one point and was like, "Am I dreaming?"
Not dreaming, am I?
No, because you know, in the past, I've had dreams, like literal dreams when I sleep about top 8ing a tournament, and it's like this is a real moment for me, and I feel like I've improved so much as a player, and I've been able to top 8 this tournament. So yeah, that's probably one of my most memorable moments. The other one I had was just the whole week I had in London for Worlds this year.
Yeah, it was a good shout.
Probably, you know, the best week of my life. I went down early. My friend Christian from Australia.
Shout Christian has Barney.
We love him, but he let me stay with him for a week. You know, I met all the Australians through him, and then, you know, we just tested a lot. Me and him. I feel like that improved me a lot as a player. And then it came to a few days later, when Shay arrived.
Yeah, because I was in Bali. I was in Bali.
Then I moved to staying with Shay, and then, like, you know, everyone else arrived. Everyone from the UK, and it was just so great seeing everyone there.
And the World's Party as well.
The World's Party.
Was fun.
You know, playing in day 1, playing in the Open.
You crushed the Open as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
We crushed the Open, actually. Jeez.
Yes. So that was really nice as well. It was just a really great week altogether. So that's probably my 2 most memorable experiences from Pokemon.
Yeah, no, I forgot Worlds is a top show. I'm just bare sad I wasn't at Bremen. I would have been happy. That's my bestie. Gee, look at him go. You would have had to force me not to be in that promo video with him. But yeah, yeah. Worlds is a good one. Worlds was a good one. Okay, let's have a look what else we got here. A lot of stuff we can't really talk about here. Oh, Joe had a good one actually. Yeah. If uploaded before, shout out to Omni Joe as well, by the way. What are your top techs for Warsaw? Interesting one, because the top
5 decks, right?
Yeah, for the top 5 decks. Okay. Yeah. So I'll let you crack on with that one.
All right. So we did previously establish what we thought the top 5 decks were, and we said Palkia, Giratina, Kyurem, Lost Box.
Did you say Mew? Mew has to be top 5.
We'll say Mew's
It's
top
got to
5.
be. It's just one last regional.
Yeah, we'll just for, you know, keep it easy, we'll say those 5. If you think the top 5 decks or anything else,
then fair enough.
Yeah,
it's not your podcast.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll start with Palkia. So my favorite, I think the best tech you can play in Palkia right now is Big Charm, because that card covers such a handful of matchups, right? It covers the Mirror, it covers Mew, covers Regis, covers Giratina, covers Lost Box.
Yeah,
it's just such a universally good card to play in Palkia.
You could argue. Hang on, sorry. You could argue that covers everything. Like, there's probably not going to be any game where plus 30 HP isn't going to help you, and if it doesn't, just get out your hand and attach it anyway. Like, attach it to, I don't know, your antenna. It doesn't matter, right? It's always going to be good.
Yeah, it's for sure just such a great card right now. We'll keep it moving. So for Kyurem, I really like Benji Fam's list, and that played 2 Collapse Stadium and 2 Wash Energy. You know, he's doubling up on these cards that are hard to find because the deck doesn't have much of an engine. So yeah, I really like those 2 cards. They will obviously help in the Collapse will help in Palkia. It will help in Mew, help in Regis.
Yeah,
the Wash Energy will help against any Lost Zone decks. You know, against Tina, against Lost Box.
And I think that's a good point you said. Doubling up. A lot of one thing I see a lot. People send decks, or I see decks, and like, oh, I didn't do well. Can you look at this list and help me with it? And you will see let's say the one-off Wash in this case, and it's like, okay, I can see what you're doing. You're worried about Lost Box or whatever. You ain't finding it. You are not finding that one card. So, like, for example, a recent example for me, when I played me on a one-team channel, I could start free Lost City. Do you know why? Because I want to find it straight away. And just stop, limit my opponent, right? Like, if you're playing Wash, you want to get it really early so your opponent can't be Saberline or all that nonsense. Double it up to make sure you find it. I like that.
Yeah, so a little anecdote about cheeky one-offs like that. So when I used to play Mewtwo and Mew GX, I never played Reset Stamp in my deck.
Yep.
Because there was only ever room for 1. And if you're playing, the deck's engine was 3 to NA 4 research. So you're playing 1, you will never find that on the turn you need it, right?
No.
You will always just have to bin it off early, or just find it when your opponent's on like 5 prizes, or when they're on 6 prizes.
Yeah.
Just not at an ideal time. So I'd rather just cut these for better, or I don't mind these techs as long as you play more of them. 2 Reset Stamp was always pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So
you could always play the mind games your opponent, your opponent sees you throw away 1 stamp, turn 1, they think, yeah. And then you bring down the second one, like, oh my goodness. Yeah, especially in a deck like that, obviously it made no sense to have a Reset Stamp at 1 count in a deck like that. No way.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of times you would see it when you need it, never. I guess we sort of talked about this a little bit, but we haven't gave this exact answer. Oh no, you carry on. So you got other decks. Sorry.
So Giratina. I really like Temple of Sinnoh.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think it's a lot better than Collapse Stadium. Collapse is not that good against Palkia. Or I guess it's okay against Regis, but I just think you really want the Temple of Sinnoh just so you aren't completely shut off by a Wash Energy.
Yeah.
Because Lost Requiem is a very good attack.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be denied of it, right? So there's that. There's also niche uses against Regis, shut off their gift energy, but mostly it is for the Wash Energy, which is seeing more popularity. Even some Palkia are playing Wash Energy now.
I've seen it now.
Yeah. Mew. You talk about this. You're a Mew expert.
Yeah, but they're all on 4 DTE. Right, I'd say, is Avery normal in the 4 DTE build?
It's normal, but it's still a tech card, right?
Yeah, I think I'd be playing an Avery because it's good against all the Palk stuff.
It's very good
against the Reggie stuff.
Yeah.
You can, if you can go against Reggies, you can go. Does the 4 DT play Lost City actually?
Yes.
It does. Yeah, if you can go like Avery Lost City, even with a rock. Oh, you can't do it with Roxanne as well. But yeah, Avery Lost City into Reggies, they ain't coming back from that. Especially
with an Echoing Horn as well.
With an Echoing, yeah, you know what I mean. And we said that Reggies can be the most obvious counter maybe to the Lil result. So I think you. I'd definitely be playing an Avery 100%. What else would I be? If you're playing you carry on.
Some people like Big Parasol in that deck.
Okay, I've seen that. But
yeah. Lost Vacuum is becoming more popular in Giratina decks. So I don't know how I feel about that.
And I guess as well, like we alluded to, Giratina's one of those decks that can just hold their hand. Like, but if they see that Lost Vacuum turn, I'm going to hold on to this. I don't have to get rid of this. I've got no reason to. So yeah, no, for sure. And I guess if you're playing Fusion Mew, if you're like, if you're just me, Fusion Mew, what would I be playing? If I was going Warsaw, any decks we're playing in Fusion Mew, I would still, I think, be on 3 Lost City, I think I'll stick with that.
What about Deoxys?
Oh, that's a fantastic. Ooh, Deoxys is. I flip flop on Deoxys usefulness, right? The reason you play Deoxys is that it can't get crammed because it has like what is that, 120 HP or 130, one of the two.
Yeah, something like that.
But it's extremely costly, and if you ever commit to Deoxys, you'll never get a full energy Meloetta like slap. So yeah, it's tough. I think when I have used it, it has been quite decent actually, to be honest with you. So maybe I would actually. Yeah, it's quite awkward, and you can really go down some unique prize routes. And I think as well, my current list had the Marnie in as well, just to try and throw it into these big lost spots. They have big hands. You can like when you start swinging with your VMAX, you can then combine it with the Marnie. So if they have been holding a Drapion or holding away to get Drapion, you can put it to the bottom, hope they don't get it back. Could be quite decent. So yeah, I probably would be on Deoxys actually.
Okay. What did we say the fifth deck was?
Kyurem,
Tina Mew.
Lost Box.
Lost Box, yes, of course. Okay, so the tech I like in Lost Box right now is Cape of Toughness.
Yes. Conti's on that, right?
Yeah, Alberto's been playing it.
Dirty.
So I'll do a quick explanation. Charizard plus Cape of Toughness is a beast, right? 210 HP, cannot be one-shot by a Regigigas, or anything can Arceus Goodra.
Yeah.
So you can get 2 hits in against Arceus Goodra with your Charizard, which is really good. And so it fixes a lot of your bad matchups, right? The Cape of Toughness. The other tech I like is the Raihan. Shout out to Brennan Cameraman, who played that in his top 16 Lost Box list.
Okay.
So I think...
What's that about?
Well, it's for the Zard, right?
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can threaten it, not just have to be a one.
It's become a little more popular to play energy modifiers or cooldowns. Stuff that can help you attack with Charizard earlier. And I do think Raihan could be the best one.
Yes.
Because it's not exclusive. You know, it's not exclusive to the Zard. You can maybe use it on a Sableye if you are unable to find an energy. But also the search as well. Right?
Yes.
It can help you search something out.
Cross switcher if you're playing.
It, yeah. So I like the Raihan.
Yeah, I think Raihan's actually a fantastic shout there because if I'm playing against Lost Box, I'm always considering that Zard can only attack for 1 energy, right? Yeah. I'm just going to assume that for the whole game. So if they drop a Raihan on me, I'm not expecting that. Oh my goodness, what's going on? That can completely change the game. Yeah, so yeah, Raihan seems really strong. That's it. And shout out to Conti with those capes. Oh god, that's disgusting. How much HP does Zard have with a cape?
210.
210! Golly, Casa! Techno Blast, you have to find a mod with if you're using DTE. That's insane. Oh my goodness, 1 mod for 1 prize. Nah, I'm right. Thank you very much. Anything else we can talk about here quickly? Zapdos TCG, shout out to you. Really supporting the podcast. They dropped me a message saying you really liked episode 1 Zapdos TCG. So shout out to Zapdos TCG. One of the most consistent YouTubers I've ever seen. When do you think league challenges and cups will return? I'm gonna guess March. I don't think it's gonna be January. I really don't. That's interesting. What are you thinking?
I'm not sure. Maybe I'd agree with you because we haven't heard any updates in a while, and we're only 2 months away from January.
Exactly.
March would be it could be March. Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, we haven't really got much.
At the end of the day, we haven't got a clue.
We haven't got a clue. But I'm guessing. I don't think it's going to be January. I think we would have heard more. Like say 2 months away, right? Yeah. So. Real quick, from Freddie Khan, how was the cost of living crisis affect TCG in the UK? It's hard to tell, really. We're still quite new into this, but I imagine, it's going to make it harder for some people, right? Everything goes up. What's the first thing? I learned this when I was a personal trainer. What's the first thing to go when people, when money's a bit tight? Hobbies. Got to be. Always like all the extra stuff. So I imagine for people that are, cheating on the bread line, Pokemon will be the first thing to go, unfortunately. At least competitive. You can still play online and stuff, right? I think top 3 decks for Warsaw, real quick.
Palkintel.
Giratina. What's that third one there?
Kyurem.
Kyurem.
Kyurem. Why not? I think so.
I think my top 3 for Warsaw would be Palk, Giratina, but I would put Mew at that third spot. I have to respect it. It just won, man. It just won. I think that's pretty much everything from Twitter. Someone said here, Zorowark GX or Palkia VSTAR. I don't quite know what.
In terms of what?
Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about there. Maybe which one was stronger, but in the day, think about that, unfortunately. Something here I want to talk about. I'm gonna address. I'm not gonna talk about it now. Bulba Doof is talking more about the rotation. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I did see you. I have screenshotted it. Real quick one from JGC Collectibles actually. How to play competitively on a budget. Interesting one. That you got any thoughts, or do you want me to go first on that one?
Yeah, I can explain. So it's completely, as long as cups and challenges do return, it is entirely possible to gain an invite, at least in the UK, from cups and challenges alone. You don't need to get any points from regionals or internationals. You can make up 350 from a bunch of top fours at league cups and a lot of league challenges. That's just from the UK perspective, just because we've done the circuit here. I know in other countries there are less, other European countries, like there are just way less league cups. True. So I couldn't really comment on that, but we usually get 2 major events in the UK as well. Yeah. This year we're getting Liverpool and the EUIC.
Yeah, lucky us.
So you can try getting points at them would majorly contribute to an invite as well.
Yeah, one thing I was gonna say was prioritize IC, because they give out an obscene amount of CP. I think 100 CP for top 128, isn't it? Which I got UICs.
If you're gonna make an international trip, do it to IC. Like, maybe not bother with going to every Stuttgart, Bilbao.
Yeah,
Jon-Kopping regionals, whatever it may be.
Yeah, just prioritize the ones that are cheapest, I imagine, if you're going for regionals. And I guess in regards to narrowing down actual card cost, you can play. There are good decks in format that are cheap. Pokemon's one quite good like that. Lost Box.
Budget decks do exist. Yeah.
Lost Box is very cheap.
Yeah,
Reggie's. Mew, now the battle decks have come out, actually. I haven't seen the price on those, but I imagine the single price for a Mew, a Genesect, is going to come way down now.
So if you want to play on a budget, you probably can't always play the new deck that comes out. No. When Palkia came out, that would have cost you over 100. When Tina came out, same thing. When Lugia comes out,
that's going to be expensive. That's going to be expensive. But don't feel as if because you can't chop and change your deck, you're at a disadvantage, because you're not. Because every event I went to last season, apart from one, I played Mew. I think I did okay.
Yeah, I've played Palk all season.
You played Palk all season, so just learn the deck. And I think it's actually something we talked about on the video where I had tips from champions. A lot of them said just pick a deck for a good extended period of time and just play it, regardless. Well, not 100% regardless what I'm saying, but as long as it's still like a top 5 deck in format, just play it. And minimize the cost. Make sure you get Dragon Shield sleeves, because they will last you multiple events. Ultra Bros don't. So I guess that's something else as well. I think that might be everything I wanted to talk about. Predictions. We'll wrap it up on predictions. What deck's going to win, Demi?
Giratina, I think, will win Warsaw.
Giratina will win Warsaw.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to say Palk Intel, because you're playing it and you're going to win, baby. Yeah! No, Palk, I think Palk will win. Yeah, no, for sure.
We'll have to see.
Hopefully it will be this guy right here. So then we can get a champions interview straight away. If you win or get top 4 star paid, don't go on any other don't go on any other content creators. You come straight back here to this table. Any closing thoughts?
Thanks for watching the second episode. Leave feedback, what you want to see next week. We'll hope to do this again next week.
Yeah, 100% we'll get it done. I think next week will probably be a little bit of a Warsaw wrap up, but it'll mostly be looking at LAIC format, because someone across the table is going, aren't you? Yes. So I know for a lot of us, or at least immediately, we're not going to be touching that Silver Tempest format. You have to take it very seriously, very fast. Yeah. So we will have a lot of testing data, hopefully, and some anecdotes and just things we've noticed from Silver Tempest. Is Lugia worth the hype? I imagine it will be.
Spoiler alert, yes.
I was about to say it probably is, but we'll give you some more details next week. But thanks for watching, as always, though, and I'll see you next time.